Welcome and thank you for listening to our audio presentation. My name is Walter Berger and I'm reading from my book Prosperity for Everyone. Yes, we can, but how and when? How to develop a clear overview, realistic goals, optimism and self-reliance in our hectic world. The book is published by Taschengeld Management and also available as an audio presentation, as an ebook or as a printed workbook. For more information, please have a look on our homepage www.taschengeld-management.de. Here you also can download easy to understand copy templates for daily use. Chapter 4 – Reserves. To define the real meaning of reserves, we found two definitions for the word asset. They were quite appropriate and well suited for this chapter. An asset is a resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events, and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow to the entity. And the other one, simply stated, assets represent ownership of value that can be covered into cash. Also, cash itself is also considered as an asset. Being wealthy and solvent are not the same thing. At the beginning of 2011, a TV documentary showed Americans who had lost their jobs in the financial crisis and were now homeless. The real shocking thing was that they were living in their almost new luxury cars that no one wanted to buy anymore. One family interviewed had parked their caravan in Fran's garden. One man had his little daughter on his lap and wearily described his daily battle to get enough food. Reserves are essential. A squirrel who stockpiles for the winter acts instinctively. And humans, too, have always stocked up on food for emergencies or bad times. Food, water, oil, energy, though to a limited extent, and much more are still kept as civil emergency reserves. The key question for the amount and the necessity of reserves is always, if I can no longer have this or that from today onwards, or this is not anymore available because of any reason, for how long can I keep going and survive? This should be the most important motivation and goal for not spending everything but putting something aside for, let's say, hard times. Do you have sufficient reserves? Could you get by on less income? Could you cope with losing your job over a longer period without major financial problems? Are expensive repairs a particular problem? How quickly would financial reserves be available without major losses? Liquid reserves are an important key to staying capable of financial action. In this section, you compile an asset status. That means a detailed overview of your current assets. A particular focus is on liquid reserves and quick availability for acute emergencies. Liquid reserves to cover ongoing expenses for at least 6 months would be ideal. Here we will show you an intelligent way of apportioning your income. The aim is to pay ongoing expenses, build up reserves and repay debts. Stay consistent and disciplined and build up sufficient liquid reserves. And please think about, what's the point in having a great car if I can't afford the petrol? Many people say, when I earn enough, I'll start saving. Well, the real question is, how much is enough to start? Let me invite you for an interesting examination about this topic. Just take a piece of paper and write down all the jobs you have held. Maybe you just have a look at the income section. Also write down how much you have earned in your life in total. And now write down what is left. So again, how much is enough to start saving? Now we create an overview of your assets. With this, we want to find out what kind of assets you have and what value your assets will have for others. Just take a piece of paper and enter all your assets according to type and value. Create an inventory. List all your treasures and estimate their actual value today. But please be honest. If you want to sell it today, how much would someone really pay for it? If one page is not enough, just continue on further pages. Get a complete overview. And think about, deep in our brain we still have a strong tendency to hunting and gathering. But the type of hunting and the prey have changed. Now I like to show you an intelligent way for income distribution. Please pay attention to the order. First, start regularly saving 10% of your income. The goal is to have 6 times your monthly expenditure available as liquid resources. That means in cash. Use the totals and the compound interest by regularly saving 10% of all income you receive. Lots of a little is a lot. For liquid reserves, the interest rate offered should not be decisive, as higher interest usually entails a higher risk of loss or expensive termination costs. Avoid moving to speculative currencies. If the money is needed, it must be changed, whatever the exchange rate. Constant, quick availability without major losses is important. A maximum of 90% of your income should be used for expenditure and payment of installments. You might need to cut expenses. Negotiate better terms with your creditors. 3. Use additional income to pay off debts more quickly. And 4. Plan to save regular amounts and create reserves for larger purchases. In our workbook, you will find an example of intelligent income distribution. Again, save 10% of your monthly income. Spend a maximum of 90% on outgoings, debts, reserves. Use additional income to reduce debts. At the end of the chapter Reserves, please write down where there is an urgent need to take action. What will you do?